What is up, y'all? What is up? What is up? My fault, y'all. I'm trying to get y'all a little bit of a different now because I'm having difficulty since my ring light is a little bit stuck. I'm trying to get y'all like this. It worked last time, but now it's acting up. All right. I just want to make sure that the sound is good. Hopefully it doesn't fall. If it falls one more time, we're going to have to see if we can fix it. Ew, this feels weird, though. I know y'all with this angle. This feels a little bit weird. But let me go and see real quick. I want to make sure the sound is coming out good. Here's my other phone, so I can check it out. Not forehead reveal. That's wildin'. What's up, my guy? If you want to see my forehead reveal, you gotta watch like not even a couple streams. All right, so everything looks good. It is a little bit blurry for some reason. What is up, Oxen? What is up, 360? What is up, Tati? I guess. What's up? What's up? What's up? Okay, sounds good. Let me go see the overall views, bro. We're going to be talking a little bit about this $700 fail, y'all. This $700 fail, this $700 template that I was going to sell for around $500 to $900. So I just went right in the middle. But y'all, I can't wait to end up getting into it and letting y'all know. Technically, I already have the YouTube video out, so I'm not going to get too much into detail, but I will tell y'all how I feel, what it taught me, and different things along the way. So I cannot wait to end up getting into that. Let me just pull up my Google Docs and then we can kind of start this off, man. Not L fake mustache, that's wildin'. What is we talking about? But yeah, so this is gonna be a little bit of a different angle. Let me actually go real quick and see. It's like falling. My entire thing's falling apart. I think it's because I pulled the wire by accident. Let me go and kind of close that curtain because I don't think that light isn't gonna suffice. That light is not going to suffice. Let me chill out. Let me not mess with it. Since she dropped this, bro, I know it's because I'm trying to do this with a new angle, bro. Because my lamp, my light, like my studio light thing, fucking broke. It broke, so I have to end up buying a new one, which should come in a couple of days. So far we might have to do this angle. If this angle, isn't so good, we switch it whenever we get that light. Hopefully this lasts though. So I'm trying to find my Google Notes because what I want to do is I want to put up a poll first before we end up getting into some stuff. Because, bro, we're going to be getting into exactly like how everything just came about. A little bit more details, I feel like, than the video, but also not trying to take away from the video. Let me go and see real quick. Let me know, is it glitching, y'all? If it's glitching, I have no idea why. But it should not be glitching. So I'm trying to see real quick. Yeah, because it looks like it's glitching on here too. Like for some reason it's a little bit blurry, but I don't know why, because my internet's on. I even disconnected it just to see if that could have been the case. So I don't really know why that's happening. Hopefully. Hey, shout out to Johnny for sending the star. Thank you. But I don't know how to fix it. Why is my shit so blurry? So how powerful would a fart need to be to gain enough to lift and touch a basketball? Bro, I don't even know. I don't really like that my shit is blurry right now. Let me see. Let me go and add this poll in real quick. Should be a yes or no poll. And then if it stays blurry, I'm gonna have to figure out exactly why that's happening. All right, it looks decent, but it should be a lot better for some reason. I don't know why it's doing all that. Let me go see if I connect it. Maybe that will help. Hopefully. Let's see how that will do. A question? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. X away. Let me see how it looks on this phone. So, said, hi, big AI from Southern Cal in the house, just passing through the drive-by, double tap. Yes, sir. Shout out Big Al. Thank you so much. Make sure y'all double tap and leave a like, my guy. All right, I think it looks a lot better now, right? Okay, it's not like perfect, but it's there. Can I ask you a question? Yes, sir. Ask away. But y'all, let me talk a little bit about how I took this $700 fail, man. I spent hours building this project for my web design business, and then I had to admit to myself that I don't think this is good enough. And it wasn't necessarily the way the website looked, y'all, or the project looked. It was how much time I put into it, and because I felt like everything was kind of unorganized, I didn't want to end up ultimately, screwing myself. So I decided that I was going to end up changing some things up. I think it was one of the hardest parts, and this was one of the hardest parts about building something, especially a project that you wish to have sold for such value. Nobody really prepares you for what it feels like to put in so much hours, y'all. So much hours. and then at the end of the day, it just doesn't end up working or it doesn't go through. Only to look at it and realize, the result wasn't exactly what you wanted it to be. It wasn't exactly what you wanted the $700 product to be. So I'm not going to sit here and just remake that entire video on stream, of course. That's why there is a YouTube video, so there's a purpose so y'all can watch that one. But I do want to get a little bit into the feelings behind it, y'all. Because this isn't just a website. This happens with businesses, with school, with careers, with relationships, different things like that. It happens with literally anything where you've invested a lot of time in and it just didn't end up being the result you expected. Eventually you get comfortable to a point where you have to ask yourself, do I keep going or do I let this go? So make sure y'all end up voting it up. I'm about to read some of the comments right now. Vote up this chat and make sure y'all double tap this screen, y'all. Double tap, double tap, double tap. So can you shout out Dex? Shout out Dex. I think you might try to make me say something, but I don't know. If you got the double tap, here's the friendly reminder. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. So can you do me a favor? What is your favor, my guy? What is your favor? So do you have a decent hairline? I believe so. I think so. I mean, you would have to watch a couple streams before to tell. It depends on how you feel about it. What is up, Denzel? What is up? What is up? I'm on mute? Oh, you're saying Lucy muted? 20 hours is nothing. You spend 10,000 hours on something and scrap it, that shit still don't matter, bro. It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. So can you do ASMR real quick? No, I cannot. That would kind of take away from what this stream is supposed to be about. So give a break for a day, ponder on it, and ideas will come. Y'all, that's the thing. It wasn't exactly 20 hours, maybe across the days, but I remember I was spending a long time trying to build this website. I believe not when I uploaded the video, because remember, I filmed it all on my live stream and then I uploaded it as a YouTube video. So y'all, I ended up sitting here and I pretty much built this website, I want to say for probably weeks on weeks on weeks. And what I noticed was that it wasn't that the website was bad. If y'all actually watch the YouTube video, I think the website looks pretty good. But the problem is that my code was so unorganized that if I was going to insert clients' information, it would have just been a headache. And I think it would have been more time trying to fix that than to just restart the website. So that was ultimately the reason why I had to end up restarting it. But it does depend on what you're currently doing as well. That is definitely super huge, right? Because I already know some of y'all are probably going to say no to this. Let me see what the votes are at. Some people said yes, some people said no. Because I'm sure you're thinking 20 hours, why would you just throw away 20 plus hours of work? And I completely understand that, because that is how our brains tend to operate, especially when certain things could be a little bit different, y'all. So let me get a little bit to this chat and then we're going to jump into what the first problem was. What the first problem was and how it made me feel ultimately. So what's up, dude? What is up, Zach? How are you? How are you? So why you look like me? Bro, how the hell? Wait, that's kind of lit. Bro, how you gonna take my picture? No, you better get a clear picture, Brody. I'm gonna pose for it. Hey, hold on. You better get a clear picture, bro. Don't do me like that. Bro, that's crazy. So at some point, you gotta cut your losses and say the value is in what learned from the experience. Exactly, bro. Exactly what I had to do. So I'm currently working on a project that I started in January. I released it recently and it got around 75 dislikes, 31 likes. I was demotivated for a little bit, but I'll improve by God's grace. Yes, sir, bro. Literally, yes, sir. You will improve, my guy. And who cares about the likes, bro? You will improve. Says Star Wars, yes, sir. What's up, Shane? I cannot believe that you used a photo. How the hell did you do that shit so quickly? What the heck? You better take the good photo now. Come on, that was blurry. So can you say happy birthday, my guy? It says Tim, she's gonna slime. Well, what is going on, my guy? Sorry, someone just asked a wild question. But all right, the first problem. Oops, my fault. I already put too much into it, y'all. I know y'all see the hours, you see the effort. There was many moments where it was frustrating. I documented a lot of the process on my horizontal streams. I have been slacking there though, just because life has been getting super hectic, just with family emergencies and different things like that, and with new up and coming topics that are going to be released on this channel. But those frustrating moments, I remember staying up late. I remember getting super upset and not being able to understand things. I remember trying to do it by myself, trying to get help with AI, and it just couldn't end up working. Like, it was so hard, and a lot of the time I was fixing things rather than creating. And I know a lot of the time people think, well, that's a normal process in coding, but I feel like I was doing it a little bit too much. I remember when I was excited, and then when I started to just completely hate the fact that I was even creating the project to begin with, or this luxury website. I didn't want all of it to end up feeling meaningless. And I think that's where people tend to get trapped, because since they put in so much hours towards a product, they have this idea that continuing, even though you can't, like you have an idea that if you just continue, it will get better. But sometimes we have to admit that we've already put in so much work to the point where it can't get better at this point, unless you're really gonna have to dive deep and fix it. It isn't gonna go where I wanted it to go, and those are two completely different things. You can believe in the goal. It's not that I'm saying scratch the website. I'm saying scratch this specific project. We can start a new one to make it better, right? Without believing in the version of the plan you're currently using, you could believe in becoming a web developer or making this business without believing that the website you just built was good enough. Sometimes we're going to run into those moments. Same thing with rappers. Of course, they probably make raps where they're like, shit, this wasn't as good. They scrap it. They probably really felt like there was some good bars in there, but it just didn't work out. Same thing with anything people are creating. We have to learn when we need to scrap something. And this was my first time where I was like, damn, I wasted weeks on this project, on this luxury website, just for me to scrap it. I think I'm more upset that I wasted weeks and that I should have just scrapped it immediately once I realized how unorganized it was becoming, right? Not the business, y'all, but the specific luxury website, which I'm now fixing, and it looks a lot better. Looks a lot better. You said better? Let me see. Yes, sir. Wait, are my eyes rolled? I hope my eyes are open, because I can't see it in full. But I think it looks better. I think so. That shit is crazy. I don't know how you did that shit so quickly. What is up, y'all? What is up? Let me read some of these comments real quick. You said, hello, Wisconsin. Pretty cool. You like Star Wars? I actually never watched Star Wars, so I'm sorry. I'm repping a shirt that I haven't watched. I can't. So I could be related to Justin Fields. You probably are right. Probably looks just like me. What's up, Real? What is up, UT? Said, better. I like it. But no, yes, bro. So you start, or you could believe in your business without believing in the business model that you're currently using. You could believe in going to school, but then not really believe in the degree you're currently pursuing. It can really go for anything. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough. Sometimes the thing you need to let go of isn't the dream. It's the version of the dream that you were creating, such as my luxury website. I knew it wasn't good enough. I knew it was not good enough, and I had to fix it, y'all. I had to fix it. So real quick, let me read this poll. We got about 20 votes. Would you scrap something after 20 plus hours on it? 20 people voted. 60% of people said yes. 40% of people said no. And I think that's actually good, because I feel like that means you guys probably know when it's time to scrap something. This was something I had to learn literally with just this project alone. I had no idea. I had no idea when it was time to call it quits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up ending this poll, and we're going to put up a new one. This one's going to say, have you ever kept doing something you knew wasn't working? Let's be honest. Let's see. I'm going to put that up. Make sure y'all vote it up. And I'm sure we've all been there. Where we kind of kept pushing a little bit, even though we knew it would have just been better to let go, but we didn't. So I'm going to get into that a little bit later. And this is where I feel like, well, actually, you know what? I'll get into the rest. Let's say a lot of people end up saying no here, or a lot of people say yes, but we'll say, what if people say no? I feel like I know at least everybody has definitely done this once, right? You stay in a relationship because you've already been there for 3 years. You stay in a job because you've already worked there for 5 years. You stay in a career because you spent thousands of dollars getting the degree, right? You keep working on a business idea because you already put money into it, or many hours into it. You keep working on a project because you've already spent 20, 30, 40 hours on it. And instead of asking, is this actually going to work? We ask, how can I make it work? Because everything I put into it, I already made it worth it, if that makes sense. And sometimes that's the wrong question. That is the wrong question. And that's where this website, really started to bother me, right? I started this website with a goal. This one was going to be my first luxury website, where the reason why I'm defining it as luxury is because my basic templates were going to be one-pagers. I wanted my luxury templates to have better animations, better layouts, better aesthetic, right? And I really wanted it to also have separate pages. This one was going to be unique because, of course, the basic ones has one, my luxury has multiple. Now, since this was my first luxury website, I kind of wanted to set the bar so that the rest of my templates could end up looking good. So this one meant a lot to me. And so the goal was to just really make it look like it would be worth between $500 to $900 with that, whichever one, right? Of course, I'm charging it based on how much work I feel like I'm gonna end up. Oh shoot, my fault, y'all. I didn't even see these comments. How much work I was gonna end up putting into. Let me read some of these comments. I thought nobody was commenting. It said grinding. Thank you so much, Kareem. What is up, Textura? So, yo, how we doing today? I'm doing great. Said live from her womb. Crazy. Said, are you from America? Yes, sir. She looks like a baby a little bit. I am 22, about to be 23, but thank you. I'm glad that I look young. Said insult the Star Wars series, bro. I haven't watched it. It's not that I insulted it. I just haven't watched it. But no, yeah, so currently I had an idea. I know how I wanted it to look. I had a structure in mind, and I just started building. But with the way I did this, I screwed up. I ultimately, got certain sections complete. I spent hours fixing things. I kept moving forward, but eventually, I had a finished product, but on paper, it was a complete project. But once you step back, I started to notice things, or once I stepped back, I started to notice that there was a lot of things I wasn't happy with. So though it was complete, I needed to go all the way back through it to keep fixing stuff, fix stuff. And I was like, wow, maybe if I just took it page after page after page instead of trying to finish the whole thing and then fix stuff, that was where ultimately it ended up getting difficult. So now with this current website that I'm doing, I'm trying to do separate pages so that it can make it a lot more easier for me. But that was a weird feeling, right? Because I never ran into an issue like that, especially working on a one-pager. It's a lot more easier to not mess anything up because it's all on the same page. So I finished it. So why was I not happy, right? Because I remember I finished it, right? Technically, I did. But that was what made it so frustrating, because I could look at it and say, okay, well, the website is done. The sections are there, the design is there, it's functional, right? But I put in hours, but then I started looking at the code and I started thinking about how I actually built this thing. And I realized that it just didn't look organized. Even though it looked done, it just was not organized. And I don't think that is the way I should be doing it or the way I should be moving. I didn't really like the way I approached it, and I was able to be honest about that. And it's a completely different feeling from looking at a project and saying, well, damn, I didn't finish it. Because at least when you don't finish something, you could tell yourself, well, you're going to finish it. But when you finish something and you still don't feel good about it, now you have to decide what you're actually going to do. And I was very much more inclined to make a YouTube video and say, guys, I finished this project. Guys, this project is doing good, and I just wanted to release it and get it out of the way. I even had the video pre-planned. I knew what I was going to get into, what I was going to say, different things like that. And I switched it up last minute today because I just didn't like the product. And that's what we have to end up finding out. That is what we have to end up learning. So the emotional side of this failure, right? The failure isn't always dramatic. Sometimes nobody else even knows that you failed, right? Because I would consider this a failed product. I was currently trying to make this one of the best luxury websites I could create, and I was making it completely different than what I was used to, using different colors, trying to make certain things stand out. And it was a different company too that I was currently trying to target for this price, or to ultimately set the price of this $700. And I failed, right? But looking at success from the outside, some people may think it's a finished product, just post it. People may even have complimented it. But I knew there were things I didn't like. And I felt like it didn't represent what I could do for a website. And if I was going to offer people this template, I want to feel comfortable that they're going to be getting their buck's worth. And I didn't think it was a buck's worth type of a website. I thought and knew I could end up making it better, which is what I'm currently trying to pursue and get into. So ultimately taking this $700 fail is teaching me a lot at the end of the day. And that's a different kind of failure because you're the one who has to admit it. Right? Nobody else, even if anybody else were to say, bro, this website doesn't really look too good, I still probably would have felt like I'm still going to put it out there because I put in these hours. But I decided that no, I had to be real with myself. If I want to give people a genuine product, I had to be real with myself. And so I decided to put that product out there and ultimately do my thing. And so that was very much helpful. Let me see, where is this poll at? I'm going to leave the poll up for a little bit. Now, this $700 number, you may be wondering, where the hell is this number coming from? Why did I call this my $700 fail? So the website represents the kind of website I would eventually want to sell, right? It is a template. And what I was currently going to charge it between was $500 to $900. So of course, if I'm building this template knowing that I'm going to be offering it to people for this certain amount of money, what is up H-Town? What is up Krug? How are you guys? But if I knew I was going to be selling it for that amount of money, it's technically a loss, right? Because I could have been reaching out to people around now, but simply I couldn't, or I can't, because I have to remake it. That was just the price that I had in mind. That was what I was hoping to ultimately sell that product for. But the number isn't really the point. The point is that you could spend hours building something you intend to make money from, and then you just still aren't happy with the process or result. And you have to be honest before putting it in front of a client, right? Because like I said, at the end of the day, though my sales pitch may be convincing enough to get somebody to pay for that, would I feel comfortable for making somebody pay that to get the website? No, I wouldn't, right? Because I knew I didn't put my all into it. I knew I didn't end up doing right by it. So I would definitely have loved to end up hopefully doing right by it. I wanted to make sure that everything was good, because I imagine if I didn't care, imagine if I just said, well, it's done, somebody will pay for it. That would be a much bigger problem, because now people, let's say they pay for it, but after using it after a while, they may dislike it, I might get bad reviews, but on top of that, it's just going to be bad for their business. Did I really do it for them, or did I do it for the income? So at the end of the day, it would show where my heart lied, and I know where my heart was, right? So when do I actually scrap something? This is something that is huge, and I feel like this is something you guys can end up taking if you are someone who is building stuff or getting into building stuff and trying to ultimately sell it, is that maybe you shouldn't scrap it when you get bored. You shouldn't scrap it when you're simply bored. You shouldn't scrap it when you get frustrated and things start to feel a little bit more difficult. You shouldn't scrap it if you hit a temporary obstacle. You should not scrap it if you're comparing yourself to somebody who's probably done better. And also don't scrap it if you expect instant results. But here's where you should consider it. And this is what I ultimately ended up learning through my own fails and stuff like that. You fundamentally don't believe in the direction it's going anymore. This is completely different, right? It's not some, oh, I hate this website, or this website isn't looking the way I want. Like, it's literally just not the direction you planned it. Fixing it requires rebuilding the entire foundation. That was something that currently ended up happening with this website, because there was so much extra code and so much things that I was putting important on to try and override previous code, because it would have took so much time trying to go back and refix some of the stuff. So in my eyes, it was like, if everything I'm about to do right now is going to be having to rebuild the entire foundation, I might as well start a new project. But it took me about 3 weeks to just think of that. So can I ask you a question? It is August. Why have you got Christmas lights up in August when it's Christmas? It is December. Well, these are not Christmas lights. These are just LED lights that I like to put in my room. Normally, if you see like a gamer's room or maybe like a gamer's office, that is the lights they tend to put up. Said, am I bald? Nope, I got some hair right here. But no, yes. Another thing is, you're only or when you're repeating the same mistakes. This was something else where I was currently trying to build different sections of this website, and there would be certain things I literally could not do, such as fade in the text or make certain things look or like expand, and it was starting to get really difficult. It was simple things that I should have known how to do, but I was making these mistakes over and over and over because I was trying to rush a product that just wasn't going to work. So do you have your hair down there? Oh. Brownie, you're wilded. I can't believe I even read that. But you're only continuing because of time invested, right? Continuing because time that you've ended up investing, that was something that I was doing. I felt like because I put in so much time, I just wanted to finish it. Because I kept telling all it was going to be finished, I wanted to finish it, bro. And so I ended up screwing myself by putting in more time when I should have just scrapped it. But you can't explain why, like, at the end of the day, explaining why you're still doing it, or no, my fault. Another thing would be, if you can't explain why you're still doing it besides, I've already come this far, then it probably is a moment where you should scrap it. The last one is probably the one I want you guys to think about the most, because I think that was also another thought that I ended up having ultimately when it came to making this product. So yeah, I enjoy your lights, the margins, tomatoes. Hey, that's just what happens, Birdie. That's what comes with That's what comes with vertical streaming, my guy. But make sure y'all double tap the screen to leave a like. It would be super appreciated if y'all could hit that sub button as well. I hop on these every single day and we talk about a bunch of different topics. Currently, right now, I'm talking about my $700 fail, which was a $700 template that I was planning on selling for that price. But ultimately, the code just ended up getting a little bit too hectic. And so I just decided to ultimately rebuild it. So I wanted to let you guys know how I failed and want to know, like, if you are starting a product or starting a business or whatever the hell, how you guys should, or where you guys can know when you guys should stop, basically. Like, when should you scrap it and just move forward? So sometimes you to a break and do other things and come back to it later. Facts. That is true. That is true. So thank you, beautiful, for staying positive. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, my guy. But all right, so I'm going to bring this up because I'm not saying I'm above this, right? I literally just experienced this. That's why I have the YouTube video out called the $700 fail if you guys want to tune in and see how that happened. And literally just, it was crazy. But I spent all this time working on this product, working on this thing that I just could not wait to sell and hopefully end up pitching to people to hopefully buy. I had that moment where I had to sit there and ask myself, am I just trying to convince myself that this product is good because of all the time I put into it? And that was a hard question to ask. And sometimes it's hard too because sometimes we won't be honest with ourselves. That's why it took me 3 weeks to really answer the question and finally scrap it, right? And ultimately, you don't want the answer to be no. You want to look at it and have it, just be like, yeah, that was good. I could sell this. I would get paid. You want to feel proud. You want to feel like those hours were worth it at the end of the day. Hello, what is up, y'all? What is up? But sometimes being honest with yourself is more valuable than feeling good about the work you already did. And that's where I started realizing that I had a decision I had to make. And I think it's a beautiful thing for me to end up learning it this early as well, just in this journey or in whatever journey I decide to go down. If there's more stuff that I plan to pursue in the future, right? Because this entire channel is about a real, raw, and authentic person documenting themselves, creating options such as creating different side hustles or learning things, building from it. Maybe school can end up happening in the future, right? Different things like that. So at the end of the day, the situation was definitely a lot bigger too, simply because I could just leave it and I could say, you know what, it was good enough. I could have moved on to another website. Nobody probably would have even noticed, but it just didn't feel right. Because guess who would know? Me. What is up, Underboss? I don't know if I said hi. But me. And I wasn't going to be able to live with me knowing that I didn't put my all into it. So if you keep it as it is, you're carrying a process you don't like into your next project. And also, too, just finishing it and with me knowing that I wasn't going to use it. And then in my eyes, I was like, so why am I even going to completely finish this thing if I'm not going to use it? Right? Just to be able to prove on content that I finished it. No, I had to scrap it. If you rebuild it, granted, yes, you're going to lose more. You would lose more time in the short term, if that makes sense. Because I feel like I wasted 3 weeks debating on if I should have just scrapped it. When if I just scrapped it, yes, I would have had to recreate it, but at least it would have been done probably around now. If you scrap it entirely, you have to accept the original version didn't meet your standards. That's why it gets hard. And that was something that I had to do to myself literally today. I did that today. I just uploaded that video today. So if you learn from it, you could potentially make the next project dramatically better. And that was currently what my thought process was. It's like, if I just scrap this and I realized putting stuff in different sections or in different folders, make it more organized to where now when I do get clients' information, I can input it, see how that works. Because that's still something I need to test with a bunch of my other websites too, is if, the current templates, they have like 3 sections for the services of whatever these businesses are offering. But what if they have 6 services? Is it still going to uphold? Is it still going to look good on mobile? Those are things I still need to practice and test. What is up, Navek? What is up? What is up? Just agree, being honest with yourself. Agree. Yes, sir, my guy. So I barely continue things that are working. Damn. No, but bro, sometimes that's just how it be, though. Sometimes that really is just how it is. Make sure I'll double tap the screen to leave a like, by the way, if you're new here. And that's where I wanted to leave this current part. But of course, we're going to pick it up because I don't think the question is simply, should you quit something? I think it is, what am I actually walking away from? Am I walking away from a dream, a goal, or am I walking away from a version of it that I know isn't working anymore, right? Because those are 3 completely different things, and I think people confuse them. They think changing directions means you're giving up, or they think rebuilding means you failed, or they might start over, or they might my fault. They might think that starting over means all their work was wasted. Even though I kind of feel like that, low-key. I'm like, damn, that was kind of like a waste of time with that particular one. But I'm starting to realize that that's not necessarily true, because sometimes the first version of something isn't supposed to be the final version, right? Sometimes you have to build it badly before you understand how you actually want to build it. Because literally, since this is my first luxury website, if I built this one correctly, then I would have ended up like messing up the other ones, if that made sense. Because then I would have made the other ones try to build it the exact same way I did this one. And then what if the other ones break and now I wasted even more time trying to build 3 more luxury products? So I was like, okay, let me just reverse it. Let me fix this one, make this one good, which we already got 2 pages done so far, which is a lot quicker than how I did the last one. That's how I should have known. I should have stopped too, because the process was just moving super slow. But yeah, so I feel like it's definitely helping me better the next luxury products that I plan to put out. And so that's exactly where I was at, because now that I've seen what I don't like, I have a much better idea on what I think, on what I do like, right? But there's still a bigger question. What do you actually do with everything you learned from something that didn't work? And that's what I wanted to end up getting into, right? I want to talk a little bit about how what this $700 failure ultimately ended up teaching me, right? What did this ultimately end up teaching me? So now the question becomes, what do you actually do with everything you learned from something that didn't work? Because I think that's where failure gets interesting. It's one thing to fail, and it is another thing to actually understand why you ended up failing, right? Why you ended up failing. Because if you fail and learn nothing from it, then you probably are going to repeat the same mistake. But if you fail and you figure out what went wrong, then that failure ends up becoming a part of your education, and you can move forward and make better products. So real quick, let me end this poll. We got about 61% of people saying yes, 39% of people saying no. Have you ever kept doing something you knew wasn't working? Bro, I'm telling you, it happens to the best of us. It happens to the best of us. Let me go put this poll up. Can failure make you better? I'm sure I know what people are going to end up saying, but make sure y'all vote it up, by the way. So I'm sure y'all are going to end up saying yes, but let's challenge that. Failure doesn't automatically make you better, right? We could fail and then fail again. Learning from failure is what makes you better. You can challenge, or you could fail at something 10 times and still learn absolutely nothing. So the question isn't really whether you failed. The question is whether you paid attention to the reasoning on why you failed. Said yes, said true, yes sir. Thank you so much, man. Said a shot right to the skull. It's wild. It is wild. It said failing is a lesson. True. So here's what I actually learned from my failure. Like I was mentioning a little bit earlier, was that the code was unorganized. I loved that was something I realized, because I feel like my code should have been organized. Even with the 1-pagers, I still feel like a lot of it was unorganized. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be going back and keep creating new templates, maybe over time, but at the end of the day, some of them were good. Some of them, looking back, I'm like, whoa, those templates are a little bit unorganized. How would I implement or know where to end up putting in these people's information? Not that I can't just like figure it out, but that it could just get very much confusing. And I'm learning ways to make it organized. I realized that while the website technically worked, the underlying structure wasn't where I wanted it to be. Even sometimes I felt like it could have looked a little bit similar to some of my other templates, and I wanted to give them a bunch of different aesthetics, not just the same kind of pop out color, fade here, do this. Not saying, like, granted, that could just be my theme in making websites, but I feel like, if I'm showing you one template to template 5, they shouldn't all look the complete same. There needs to be a key difference on why someone's picking template 4. You get what I mean? Thank y'all so much for hitting that like button, by the way. Make sure y'all continue to hit that. Say Cole Beanie, thank you so much, man. So yes, ma'am, sometimes we can try, but never get it correct. We have to really be dedicated. Big facts, bro. Say proud of you, Mars. Thank you so much, DZ. So you're a great speaker. Thank you so much, man. In person, I wish I was, but on these streams, I don't know where it comes from. But I started noticing how much easier things would have been if I just structured certain things from the beginning. Right? Literally from the beginning. I'm looking back at all the different templates, even my own website. My own website, which I love so much, is super unorganized. And so even with my own website, I'm looking back and I'm like, damn, I low-key wish I built this shit later. Like, you know what I mean? Because now I don't really want to rebuild it because it looks so good. I showed you guys my website, I believe, in the last 2 videos if y'all want to see what what the agency looks like. But it looked so good that I don't even want to rebuild it. But I feel like I might have to. And so that sucks, but you got to be honest with yourself, man. Just because it may look good, as long like things need to stay organized. You get what I mean? Granted, it's not like people are going to use my website, so it's kind of like if it is unorganized, at least I know how to use it. But at the end of the day, I may still want it to be a little bit more organized. So if you can't accept defeat, how can you stand on the top? Exactly. Said baby steps, grasshopper, baby steps. Yes, sir. Said natural beauty. Thank you so much, H-Town. Thank you. Make sure y'all continue to vote it up and hit that like button. So so fine. Thank you. But another thing is that I realized that some things were taking longer to fix because of the way you originally, or the way I've originally built them, right? And so that shit was hectic. It was to the point where I kind of felt like I wasn't even creating anything anymore. I was just sitting there trying to fix code or sitting, and I know normally some people say like, well, that's just what comes with making, with coding, or that's what comes with this. But y'all don't understand. Like, it was bad. Like, it was to the point where like the first maybe hour was me creating stuff. The rest of it for the next 2-ish weeks, whenever the hell I did it, y'all could probably check the horizontal stream, was straight debugging. Like, I just kept going back in and trying to fix stuff. I'm like, I might as well just restart this. Like, that product was not about to be saved. I learned that finishing something doesn't automatically mean you're finished. Like I said, I really wanted to show you guys the finished product. That's what today's video was going to be. But I felt like it was going to be wrong to do that. Even if I just hid the website, I was like, no. Let me be honest that I'm not proud of this. Let me be honest that I know I could do better. And let me be honest that I'm going to start over. And I'm going to show y'all the finished product. Honesty was something that I wanted to really choose when I was doing that. I learned, and honestly, the best thing that I learned was just simply what not to do with the next project, which is great. And so far, like I said, with the next project, I'm moving so much more quicker because of everything that I've learned. I have about 3 more pages left in this time, and I did that within a span of like 3-4-ish hours, or no, like 3 hours with trying to make the website, which is really good. So I was like, damn, within 3 hours, I only have 3 pages left that I got to do. That's not so bad. So show some lovely kindly give a like. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, y'all. Thank you. Make sure y'all end up liking it up. But yes, and honestly, that might be the biggest thing I got from this, right? I learned what not to do. And that might not sound exciting, but it actually is, right? Because now when I start this next project, which I've already started, I'm not starting from the same place. I'm starting from a place of literally the knowledge of what caused me my first problems to ultimately, hopefully, not have any more problems moving forward with these next websites. And that's valuable because the next site doesn't have to teach me the exact same lessons again, right? Maybe it could teach me something else, but it doesn't have to be the exact same lessons. Another thing too is that with fumbling the first site, I was able to try a couple of different things, which I thought was nice. So if you guys want to end up tuning into the last episode, or the episode I uploaded before this when the stream is over, I ended up showing it, and so y'all could kind of see the stuff that I've learned, the stuff I plan to take forward, and different things like that. But I haven't finished my second site, but it's almost done, which is good. See, like skateboarding, no, I have not skateboarded. I would have loved to learn, but I was too scary when I was younger. I was way too scary. I thought I was gonna fall off that thing. So when you rebuild something, if you knew the second version would be much better, or would you rebuild something if you knew the second version would be much better? I'm sure a lot of people would probably say yes. Because that's literally the position that I'm in. I'm not rebuilding this because I think the entire idea is trash. I'm rebuilding it because I now know how I would approach it differently. So it's never too late. It really isn't. And honestly, this is probably the perfect channel for stuff like that too. Because my current goal is I plan to document myself learning a bunch of different things and then kind of showing showing kind of from like beginner to maybe average. I won't show myself being a master, but beginner to average. Let me show you the difference from day 0 to whatever 6 months down the line. Currently this is literally one of those channels where I do that. But of course, something I'm a little bit more focused on right now is kind of not, I don't want to say career wise, but I would say options wise, simply because I want to allow myself to have different options just in case if, like, let's say my main career ends up having an issue or whatever the hell, like, you just never know, right? I just want to be able to have options to where, I don't have to rely on this or I don't have to rely on this, and they all just kind of make an income, which I think will be pretty damn lit. I'm sure we all kind of want that. So far that's currently what I'm focused on, but eventually when I do get to that point career-wise where, the options are set and things are going well, I would love to document a series on here, just me trying to learn how to skateboard, how I do all that shit. That shit would be super fun, but of course it's going to take hella time before we get there. But I think that'll be really fun. But I want to talk about the difference between quitting and pivoting. And I know this is something huge that I do want to end up talking about too, just simply because I know when it comes to content, especially a YouTube channel, a lot of people tend to niche people in with their topic. It's kind of to a point where some people may see me as a web developer or they see me as an IT specialist, but they don't really see what my actual niche is. And I think it's since YouTube is just so keen on picking a topic, right? But my niche is what is supposed to be about whatever I'm doing. It's supposed to be Marzi's journey. What is my journey? What am I doing? Kind of like a vlog, right? What am I learning? What am I pursuing? What am I building? But super hard when a lot of people watch content and they're super on what is the exact topic you're on. Are you trying to be an IT specialist or are you trying to be a web developer? And the real question the real answer would be neither. I'm trying to build options. Y'all are going to see all of it. So whenever I'm going to school, it's going to transition. If it's not tech, if it's not this, then that's not what it is. It's going to be a whole completely different topic, a different idea. But the niche ultimately would be me. What am I learning? What am I building? What am I growing in? How am I getting better every single day? So there's a difference between quitting and pivoting. A lot of my content, and when it comes to my products in this business, a lot of it is just pivoting. It's not quitting, but it comes off that way because people are so used to when it comes to content, they need to see everything. But just because certain things are being built behind the scenes much slower and I can't make it a main product on content, it doesn't mean that it's not happening. I just pivoted main content to something else that's more main in my life, but then we'll circle back. We'll come back here, and it's still being worked on. So your channel is very special to our Maya's family. Can you give a shout out to my brother who's battling bro, how do you, first of all, I'm not gonna lie. Number one, when it comes with these comments, y'all use the same name, so I already know what that is. But number two, it is really sad that people end up using like different stuff like that, like, oh, shout out to my brother, they have cancer or birthday or this and that. It's like, why? Just to get somebody to say a name? Like, it's like, I don't know, that's crazy. Like, what if the whole time I thought that person actually had cancer? Like, that's not that, I don't know. But anyway, let's continue. So I want to explain quitting. Quitting is I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't believe in this, or I'm done pursuing this, right? But pivoting / rebuilding is this approach isn't working, I'm learning something else, or I'm going to change the way I'm doing it. Or maybe this just isn't the main focus, something else is going to be the main focus for now, and this will be on the back burner. Those aren't the same things. You could change the way you're pursuing something without giving up on what you started in the first place, which is currently what I'm trying to get into about that, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the transition to life outside web design. And honestly, this has nothing to really do with more websites. This is about my own life. Maybe you've been trying to get in shape, start a business, go to school, right? Learn a skill, build a career, and you tried something and it didn't work, right? Let's say it didn't work. So now you're sitting there thinking, maybe I'm just not capable of doing this. But what if the problem isn't that you're incapable? What if the problem is that your approach you were using your approaches aren't working? And that's a completely different conversation. So I'm trolling because I'm lonely and sad. Damn, bro. It's all good, man. It's all good. I know what happens. But real quick, let me go and put up a different poll. I put, can failure make you better? 91% of people said yes. I figured that was what people were going to end up voting. Let me go and put up another poll here. I'm going to do, have you ever thought you were bad at something when you just needed a different approach? That's what we're going to do. Because I feel like that's probably happened to everybody. People struggle with math and they'll be like, oh, I'm bad at it. But instead, they just need to change how they study. People struggle with fitness, but they just need to change their routine. People struggle with business. They just need to change their offer. People struggle with content. They need to change their format. People struggle with coding. They just need to change how they build projects. Sometimes you don't need to become a completely different person. You just need a better system at the end of the day. Let me see real quick. You said if you had to run a race, but you didn't know how long it would take to reach the finish line, would you run it? I feel like I would. Would I run in a race? I mean, well, am I having fun? You said, would you run a race but didn't know how long it would take to reach the finish line? Would you run it? Well, I don't know. I'm not in shape though. Like, I don't know. We would have to see. Like, racing is completely different. Like, it depends on what. Depends on like if we're trying to put something in between the race, right? It depends on if we're putting something in between the race. Like, because I feel like if you're trying to say, like, let's say for instance we're talking about like content. And you're like, would you keep doing content if you never know if content will work? I would say yes. But if you're talking about like an actual race, my guy, like I'm sorry, I'm not hopping in. like I just don't have the physical capacity. Now, if I was a runner or I loved running, I might be like, fuck it, I could run my ass off. Like shit, that just might be my dream. But it's like, I don't know. That I can't do that one. So status is cutting down a tree that you planted. Would you rather watch bro, what is up with you, my guy? So so you just keep talking up about, oh bro, come on, man. What are we talking about? That's wild. And but no, yeah. So I want to talk about the danger of sunk cost, y'all. So this is going to be a different type of concept that I wanted to get into. There's another thing I think we have to be careful about. Just because you spend a lot of time on something doesn't mean you have to keep doing it, right? I didn't spend $700. I built a $700 product that I wanted to sell for that amount of money, but I failed. I failed on building it. So hopefully I could build something else that could cost at least around that price range. But 5 hours doesn't mean you owe it 5 more, right? $100 invested doesn't mean you need to spend another $500. 3 years in a career doesn't automatically mean you need another 20. A long relationship doesn't automatically mean you need to continue. A business you've worked on doesn't automatically deserve unlimited time. Your past investment is already gone. The question is, what decision gives you the best future and what ultimately builds the best product or the best everything that you're trying to get into, right? Said, so currently, it says, should you keep going just because you already invested yours or invested years? I know some people might say yes, but why? That's what I want you guys to actually think about. Are you continuing because it's still the right decision or just because you would feel like if you stopped, you wasted so many years? Because you can't get those years back either way, right? So you got to be honest. Is it worth it or not, right? And the $700 wasn't actually a loss at the end of the day. Though I was going to sell it for $700. Remember, the template or the product was $700. I just failed in making it. That's why I don't actually look at this project in the same way anymore. At first, I looked at it as I just spent all this time making something I'm not happy with. And yeah, that sucks. But I'm not going to pretend, and I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But what actually sucked was putting hours into something and looking at it afterward thinking, damn, I could have done better. Knowing that you were building a product and you knew you had it in you to make it a lot more beautiful, a lot more better. I realized that I didn't just get a website out of those hours. I got experience, though. This is how my mindset changed. I've learned experience. I have learned how to organize my code. I've learned what slows me down. I've learned things that I've liked. I've learned things I need to improve on. I learned things I didn't like. And most importantly, I learned what I want to do differently the next time I target making a luxury product. So maybe the project failed, yes, but the time wasn't completely wasted. So the bigger lesson is that probably the biggest thing, or I guess the biggest thing I want to say, or make people, hopefully if you're watching, understand this, is that don't romanticize failure, for one. Failure isn't automatically good itself. You need to be someone who's willing to learn from failure. It doesn't just happen like this. You know how many times people, let's say, get into a toxic relationship, but they just keep going and doing it over and over and over in different relationships. Now, just because the first one failed, did that mean they automatically learned? No, that's why they keep going in this pattern. So you have to become the person who learns from this type of failure. Don't keep something alive just because you spent time on it. Don't throw away everything because version 1 failed, though. Right? Separate the goal from the method. Ultimately, my goal was to build a luxury website that I could hopefully sell for $700. Though it didn't end up working, doesn't mean I'm saying I'm not selling it for this price or I can't make it. No, I'm now coming up with a different structure. I have a different plan. I know what made it fail. And so far, just within the first 3 to 4 hours, I'm further than I was on the previous website, meaning I've obviously found out what it was and how to fix it. So I separated the goal from the method. The goal was still good. The way I tried it was bad. Sometimes the right move is to just rebuild it. It was a hard call on my end. It took me almost 3 weeks to think, let me rebuild it. I'm not giving up on it. It's just a different product. Sometimes it's time to pivot. Sometimes it's time to quit. The important thing is knowing why you're making that decision. And I think that's something I'm going to have to learn over and over again. Though it definitely helped. But there's going to be more moments where, of course, I run into this. There's definitely going to be a lot more moments where we run into this. So I'm going to get into a little bit of this payoff, right? Because I don't think the goal should be to never fail. Because that's impossible. You're going to build things that don't work. You're going to make bad decisions. And you're going to start things. Hey, what is up, Roger? You're going to start things that you eventually realize aren't for you. You're going to spend time on things that eventually you have to walk away from. That's just part of trying, right? So the goal isn't to make sure that when you fail, or the goal is, sorry, to make sure that when you fail, you don't fail the exact same way twice. That's the important part. That's what the $700 website taught me. I'm not looking at this project and saying I'm terrible at web development. I shouldn't be a web designer. I shouldn't be making this web dev business. I'm looking at it and saying, okay, now I know what I need to fix. And that's a completely different mindset because I'm not throwing away the dream. I'm throwing away the version that wasn't working. And now I get to take everything I learned and build a better version. And if you actually want to see what I'm talking about, I made a whole YouTube video showing the process, 2 YouTube videos, showing the process of this $700 project being built and the failure. What I didn't like about it, what went wrong, and what I'm planning to do moving forward, because it's one thing for me to sit here and tell you I failed, but it's another thing for you guys to see a YouTube video and show you that I failed, right? So if you want to see that actual fail, definitely go check out the YouTube video. That would be highly appreciated if you guys could do that. So I feel like struggling with friendship. Do you have any advice? I feel like I struggle with friendship. Oh, bro, I don't know. I currently for me, I'm not much of a person who has friends either. Like, I think I'm more of like family person, partner person. Like, I don't really have friends. But I think it's because I actively learned that when it comes to friendships or family, any type of relationship requires work. And I'm already so busy that there's just no way I can give myself to more people. Like, at this point, like, that's just gonna be impossible. Like, I need to focus on what the hell I'm doing, because it's just gonna be hard. Maybe when I get there, it'll be a lot more easier to maintain friendships, but I can't even give you all that answer. So Star Wars, sorry. Thank you. So I also have a Star Wars poster about for 50 cents. It is fire, bro. What's crazy though is I haven't even watched it. So I'm kind of fake right now. See, oh yeah, it's all right. Yes, sir. So I'm kind of fake right now, bro, because I have not watched Star Wars. But if y'all have any questions, I am going to end up ending off the stream in a few, probably in the next like 10-15 minutes or so. Thank y'all for tuning in. This one wasn't as like how my normal streams tend to go. Sometimes when it comes with YouTube just has like an issue when it comes with the recommendations, but I don't really mind, right? At the end of the day, it's all good. I'm going to rock it out with y'all to the last 10 minutes, and then we can dip. Hope you guys ended up enjoying it. I just really wanted to get into this $700 fail, bro. It's the same. I haven't watched it. It's all good. Oh, facts, bro. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm like the only person. Or not the only person. I actually meet a lot of people who haven't watched it, but I'm the only person who probably reps the shit. Like, but what's crazy, though, is I remember at the same time, too, I never ended up watching Star Wars. And I remember when everybody, like, in middle school was watching it, but for some reason, it wasn't something that I wanted to get interested in. But when I got older, I finally watched it, and I was like, yo, Star Wars ain't bad. I mean, Twilight, y'all. Twilight. I'm embarrassed. I'm like, am I lying? I meant Twilight, y'all. And I remember in middle school, a lot of people were watching Twilight, bro. And then I was like, nah. Then I realized my hand looked kind of crazy with me doing that, y'all. My fault. So I used to have friends used to like 3 hours ago. Oh, well, it's life. Damn. So I talk so restlessly. You need to calm down a bit. Nah, bro, I don't know how. I normally tell people like I cannot slow down when it comes to me talking. Like, this is normally just how I talk. But what's weird though is like in person I don't talk like this. I feel like in person I talk a lot slower. But when it comes to content, I don't know if it's because maybe I know people are gonna end up sending a message in and I have bad memory on like what I'm talking about. So I don't want to make you guys feel like I'm not answering y'all questions. But if I stop talking, answer your question, and try to come back to my thought, I'm gonna forget. So I feel like in my head it's like I try to just get my thought out first, so I could be like, okay, let me say this, that, because I always have a lot to fucking say. So I'll do that, and then I'll be like, okay, next question, because now if I forget, I forget. But I don't know, maybe that's why. Because sometimes in person, like if I'm comfortable with you, I'll talk really fast. But I think also too, that just came down to, I feel like in person people would cut me off if I talk slow. So I would try to just get my shit out so no one can cut me off. But motherfuckers just be cutting people off 24/7. I'm like, damn, I can't even get to nothing. Since I play virtual reality, I just want to find someone who likes me for my personality and how I think, you feel me? No, facts, bro. Facts. It's tough out here. It definitely is tough out here finding people who actually like mess with you. Because the thing is that I feel like a good amount of people are selfish to an extent that it's hard to find real genuine people who would actually care about you the way, if you're a genuine person, the way you would care about them. It's really hard to find people like that because a lot of people tend to go in and they probably have a motive. What is up, Lawrence? They probably have a motive, you know, since people are selfish, right? It could come down to like, well, what if they're friends with you because they know you're going to bring them to work? Or what if they're friends with you because they know y'all could roll up together? Or they're friends with you because y'all study together. But the moment that thing is gone, now all of a sudden they ain't your friends no more. And it's like, motherfuckers just wasn't real to begin with. They had a motive from the start. Some of times when it was easy to get friends or people you like hanging around with. No, facts. I just think the problem was is that back then, like especially when it came to, let's say like school, for instance, I feel like the reason why it was a lot more easier around that time was because it was a group of people who were basically going through the same stuff, whether it was, you know, a terrible time at home or just coming to school and like relating on certain hobbies, certain topics, and just trying to like I feel like it made it more easier. But in the end, after school was over, at least for me, I realized there was nothing more to relate on. We didn't study the same stuff. We weren't interested in the same stuff. A lot of people were moving a little bit more slower than other people in life, so there wasn't much to relate on anymore. I feel like school kind of brings everybody together to relate. But then once you guys kind of branch off, you guys start having different topics, different interests. So it's a little bit like you just be screwed. You just be screwed in the end, and it's kind of crappy. But I feel like sometimes it's just how the way it goes. Also, too, I tend to notice the people who do stay around friends or stay around people, they tend to be getting played in their friendships, right? Like I will literally hear a lot of people who have friends, and they'll sit there and be like, oh, you know, this friend did this to me, but that's my boy. I'm like, he literally slept with your girlfriend 3 times, like 3 different girlfriends 3 times. Like, how is that your boy? Like, what are we talking about? Like, you just must want friends. Like, if you don't see that as disrespect, like, come on. Like, that shit is crazy. Sometimes people are just desperate to be around people, so they deal with bullshit. But, you know. So do you think humanity comes first, or do you prioritize value of people based on your beliefs? I don't even understand the difference. I might be confused with that question. Do you think humanity comes first, or you prioritize value of people based on your beliefs? What do you mean? Like, do you mean humanity as a whole, or the people I like? Like, what are we saying? So it's always the bullies who are people, which is devastating. So what are your opinions on mental health? Mental health is a real thing. And it's definitely probably one of the more difficult things. It's like a silent enemy. You know, a lot of people can't see it. So when you try to explain it to people who don't understand it, it's as if you're insane or something, but you're really not. I think it's real, and I think it's just it's you know, a lot of the stuff that you think about, or like with mental health, it feels real. Like, you know, some people will be like, bro, it's just in your mind, but that's not enough to snap somebody back to reality. Like it just feels real. You know, with any illness, or like any mental health, like some people, you know, who may feel like they look or they feel bigger, or what is it called, like anorexia or something, or not anorexia. I forgot what it's called, but where it's like they think they look bigger, so they try to lose weight, but then they get really skinny because they still think that they look like fat, or like they don't have, like, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it's something that they see for real. This is what they really believe. I remember sometime I've seen this person act like an artist to kind of draw out, like the artist was like, how do you see yourself? And the artist drew what they saw, and then they drew how she looked, and then they did a side-by-side like comparison, and they're like, you do not look like this. You know what I mean? And it's scary, but people genuinely believe that shit. And it's super sad. It's super sad, but I've you know, it's real, man. Said bullies are always popular for some reason, which is sad. Oh yeah, but you know, the reason why bullies are popular though is because people themselves don't want to get bullied. So because they don't want to get bullied, they be friends with them so that they can bully other people together, just because they don't want it to be them. The moment there's nobody else to bully, it's going to be them. And they know that. So they have to continue to help the bully find more people. So sometimes I see it from like a desperate point of view of just wanting to be liked, or being afraid to be bullied themselves. Guarantee you, they couldn't handle the way they bully you. They couldn't handle it if someone did that to them. And that's why they do it to you. And it bothers them that you can handle it. Because they're like, if it was me, I would have left, or I would have quit, I would have stopped coming to school, or I would have did this, or I would have left work. They know what they're doing. So do you know the concept of ego death? No, actually. I mean, I could probably guess, but I could be wrong. I'm assuming, is it like you have such a high inflated ego? But I don't know, maybe crashes down or something. It's not exactly what it was. So yeah, a problem I have is people using the term attention seeking, and that really gets me. No, exactly. It's really sad because a lot of people don't get it. And like I don't know, like I remember back when I was, because I used to have bad like anxiety attacks. Now I've gotten a lot better, but that's why I know like it's real, because even sometimes I could have an anxiety attack out of nowhere, y'all, and then it would be like, damn, like I thought I was gonna die, like for real, like I really could have went to the hospital because I believed it. You know what I'm saying? And I remember some people would laugh. They'll be like, "Oh, like come on, like relax, like blah blah." I'm like, "Bro, you don't get it though. You don't get it." But I also see it from their perspective, you know, because at the end of the day, they don't, since they never felt it. How could they relate? How could they believe it? You know, sometimes it's hard to believe something you don't really see or don't really feel. You know, like I remember one time I was explaining anxiety to somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I get scared too." I'm like, "No, anxiety is not being scared. It's a difference. Like I get scared, but when I have anxiety, I know it's different." You know, so it's like some people just genuinely can't relate. So when they join the bully, it keeps going into a loop, which there is no one to bully. Facts, so there's a hole still. So bullying is like a blackmail and a fake friendship, and being friends with a bully is like the safe zone. Exactly, but it's not good. Exactly, but that's why people do it. You know, so the ego death is the quiet dissolution of the self the moment the I you thought you were becomes indistinguishable, from the vastness of experience itself. Oof, I don't think I have the mental capacity to understand that. But I feel like you're spitting facts, though. I just might need to, like, Google it. But you're definitely spitting facts. Said, not Kalu. You said, love your lives, by the way. Thank you so much. What is up, crew? You're back, my guy. What is up? What is up, y'all? How are you guys today? But alright, y'all, I'm gonna end up ending this stream. I wish I could have stayed on a lot longer. I wish YouTube ended up recommending my stream like it was supposed to, but YouTube be messing with me sometimes. But I love y'all. Catch y'all in the next one. This is Marzi signing off. Love y'all. Deuces. Deuces, deuces, deuces. I know, I'm sorry, Sophia. Y'all can catch me later, though. You can catch me next stream. I should be hopping on around 6:30 p.m. EST or 7 p.m. EST, y'all. Deuces.